And let that be your invitation to bring your attention, your awareness, your beingness into this present moment. We'll begin with the path-clearing and wish-fulfilling prayer to Padmasambhava, followed by our refuge prayer. Dosam Sangye Guru Rinpoche Nongdrop Kundak Deva Chen Pojab Barche Kunsel Dudu Drak Potsel Solwan Depso Jinji Lap Tu So Chinang Sangwei Barche Jiwadang Sampalunji Drupa Jinji Lo. Precious Guide, one with all the Buddhas of the three times, blissful presence and source of all spiritual accomplishments, fierce destroyer of illusion who dispels every obstruction. We pray to you for blessing, inspiration, and realization. Please remove all outer, inner, and secret obstacles and spontaneously fulfill our aspirations. Sangye Chodang Tsoki Chognam Ha Zhongju Bardu Dagni Kapsu Chi Dakji Jin Sogi Pei Sonam Ki Drola Penshir Sangye Drupar Shok Sangye Chodang Soki Choknam La Zhongchu Bardu Dagni Kapsu Chi Dakji Jin Songi Pei Sonam Ki Drola Penshir Sangye Drupar Shok. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened. Through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom, for the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. The great Yogi Milarepa sang, "My body is the holy mandala itself, wherein resides the Buddhas of all times. With their blessings I'm freed from all needs and attachments. By day and night I offer them up. Happy am I to do without material things, knowing that all beings in the 6 realms of samsara are inherently Buddhas, and all the 3 worlds the self-creating, measureless Trikaya Palace. Whatever I do is the play of the Dharmadhatu, ultimate reality. Whoever I'm with is the Yidam deity. Wherever I stay is the Buddha's abode. Happy am I to forego outer supports, rituals, and symbols." So as I like to do, we'll do a little chanting before we sit. I'll guide you a little bit into the silence, and then we just sit. Even think of this experience today as shikantaza, the Zen practice of just sitting. Just sitting. When you find yourself distracted, remind yourself, just sitting, not doing, not trying to do anything, just sitting. Think of yourself as the lotus flower, growing up from the mud, just sitting. So this morning we'll chant Lama Cheno, which translates as calling in the Lama, but really it means awakening your inner teacher, calling in your inner teacher, your compass. So don't worry if you get the words right or the tune right. Doesn't matter. Just focus your attention on the sensation of sound and vibration and being in this present moment. Lama Cheno, 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 Lama Cheno. Natural body means not too tight, not too loose, upright, supported, awake. Natural breath and energy, breathing diaphragmatically into the belly. Belly moves out when breath moves in. Simple and relaxed. At ease. Natural heart-mind means open, curious, not searching, just watching. Shikantaza, just sitting. Nothing more, nothing less. Sensations will continue to arise. And thoughts will associate with those sensations. So as the sensations arise and settle, let the thoughts arise and settle. There's nothing significant. Nothing to be deemed, nothing to assess or analyze. Just sitting. Just this. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just sitting. Let's take a load off. The task list is on pause. Just sitting. The jewel is in the lotus. The lotus is like us. It's just lotus being lotus. We are being. I am. So we'll continue this portion. Stay relaxed. Eyes closed, spine upright for a japa meditation of Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Letting go, letting be, letting everything be as it is. This is it. Everything. Nothing more, nothing less. By the blessings of the Triple Gem, may the minds and hearts of all beings be attuned to the sublime Dharma. Bless us to move forward on the path of true understanding. May the way be cleared of all impediments. Bless us that the elusive vision may appear in the light of the transcendent wisdom of Buddha. May unskillful thoughts and actions cease to arise. Bless us with the awakening of true love and compassion. May all beings realize perfect enlightenment. May all beings realize perfect enlightenment. And let's start with us. Start with you, start with me. Because that's where we really realize it. When we can see our own experience, then we can turn that into understanding for the experience of others. So as you remember, the past few weeks we've been going through the Lojong teachings. And I just want to recap them. I'm just going to read them and then we'll expand upon today's part. If you've missed them, go back and look at the previous few weeks and listen to those Dharma ideas and the bigger discussions around them. So in part 1 we have the foundational practices. This is the basis for training in the inward awakened mind. So first train in the foundations of the path, the suffering struggle, karmic patterning, the precious human opportunity, and impermanence. In part 2, the main practice of training in the awakened mind of Bodhichitta, training in the absolute mind of awakening, or the non-conceptual teachings, since all appear as like a dream. Examine the insubstantial nature of awareness. Let even the thought of emptiness release itself. Rest in the natural state, the ground of all, the essence of the path. In post-meditation, be a wizard of illusion. That's my favorite. Next, we have training in the relative mind of awakening, the conceptual mind. Train in giving and taking alternatively. Breathe out the giving, breathe in the taking. 3 objects, 3 poisons, 3 sources of virtue. Use words to make everything you do into the practice. Take difficulties gradually, starting with your own. Part 3 is converting difficulties into the path of awakening. Since harmful thoughts and actions are everywhere, transform them into the path. In the relative practice, drive all blames into one. Be grateful to all. In today's lesson, the absolute practice, emptiness is the best protection. Recognize all this confusion as fourfold Buddha-ness. So let's talk about emptiness first, because that's one of those things we get confused and tripped up on. So emptiness in our language feels like empty. It's like inheriting a mansion and there's nothing in there. There's no furniture, there's no dishes, there's no people, there's nothing. And it feels like, something to do, something to fill, tasks to be done and filled. But that's not what emptiness means in this practice. Emptiness means that there's no substantial value to the conceptual experiences of our humanness. All the sensations and thoughts, conceptual. Ideas, conceptual. Can you hold a concept in your hand? Well, no. I mean, you can write it down and hold that in your hand, but it's based in insubstantial nature. And we say it's insubstantial, meaning that it doesn't exist outside of the absolute. There is nothing that exists outside of the absolute. So if we think about the scientific side, I like the scientific side, that there is this quantum field that was discovered several years ago called the unified field. And this lines directly up with the ancient teaching of this absolute nature. You can always think of relative as this human portion, the portion that you name and gender and gets a job and sleeps and eats and poops. That's the relative part. The part that thinks, the part that smells, the part that tastes, experiences emotions. An absolute is what this all arises out of. Everything, everywhere, arises from this unified field. It's a big concept, but it's grounding. It reminds us that we're not separate. Even though we have experiences of feeling isolated and alone, which draws on the experience of anxiety and depression and separateness and not good enoughness. But at the root, the scientific quantum level, we all come from that unified field, the absolute. So it's empty of individual nature, empty of individualness, not separate, part of the whole. Can't leave it, you can't escape it. Which also leads us into some of that idea of impermanence, that everything that comes together, this is, my other exciting scientific connection, is the second law of thermodynamics, that everything comes together, comes apart, and comes together in another way, absorbed back into the quantum field, and rebirthed as something else in a connected, conscious way. So emptiness, I'd like you to ponder on that in your meditation. What does emptiness feel like? Does it feel like separateness or feel like inclusion? The next piece of our lesson today, in this part 3 of converting difficulties into the path of awakening, says the best way is to maintain 4 practices. First is accumulation of merit. And what do we mean by this, accumulation of merit? Does that mean that we collect stuff? No. It refers to our karmic patterning and setting negativities into the path. So when we perpetuate negative thoughts and negative actions, they recur. So instead we can be intentional about our actions and our thoughts, what we engage with. As the negative thought arises, as it does, so think about it in this way. Maybe you've not thought about it before. Often we think that we have a thought and then an emotion arises around that. And if we take a little bit of step back, we have a sensation and experience a sensation. Experience a sensation, which could be a thought. Experience a sensation, then an emotion arises around that, and then a thought to explain the experience. Does that make sense? We have a sensation, experience a sensation. We then experience an emotion that arises, and then we attach that to a narrative with a thought. And part of that is our conditioned existence, that we have an experience of something being negative or positive, so we associate that, and that's the narrative that grows out of it. We also insert the narrative of me or I. The ego steps in. So in the third phase of this that arises, this third phase arises as thought and identified as mine. This is my experience. Not just experience, but my experience. And that feels very separate. And in its nature is emptiness, and not name, gender, mine. It just is, without being owned. So when we think about accumulation of merit, we want to set ourselves on the path of positive thoughts, following and perpetuating positive thoughts and positive actions. If you feel glum, don't sit in the glum. Change it. Change the narrative, knowing that this is simply a thought that is arising, a concept around an emotion and a sensation. Next is purification of negativities. We often get mired in those narratives of mine, me, mine, terrible, suckiness, meanness, hatred, angriness. All those emotions, right? And we have a narrative that supports them. It says, I deserve the right to be angry. I deserve the right to be whatever it is. Purify negativities, and the closest one to you is where you start. Irritation, the narrative of separateness. Purify the negativities. Next is offering to worldly spirits. What are worldly spirits? Other living things, other living people. All those worldly spirits that are traveling around us, that irritate us and make us want to be separate. Offering to those. And what do we offer? Compassion, understanding, knowing that that being is struggling and suffering in the same ways that we do. So we offer that up. Offer it constantly. Think of just giving, giving, giving. That person's irritating. Of course they're irritating. Offer up your understanding. Purify the negativities. Purify that narrative of who that person is and what they represent. And simply understand that they are just caught in their human condition and all their concepts and the narratives around their emotions, around their sensations. Fourth is offering to Dharma protectors and dakinis. What are Dharma protectors and dakinis? Think of Dharma protectors as those who uphold the teachings of this compassion and understanding. Think of those who have come before and written things down. You know, in this last century we've recorded things, and there's been more writing and perpetuation, cultivation of this wisdom. So we can uphold those who have endeavored and taken it as a devotional exercise to show up and practice in this way. Hand it to others. So we offer to those our gratitude. The next is join whatever you meet with practice. So even the unexpected becomes the path. I'm going to read that again for emphasis. Join whatever you meet with practice. So even the unexpected becomes the path. So when you smack your thumb with a hammer, practice. Understanding. Here's a situation that is a stimulation of our senses in a painful way. And there is immediately an emotion around that of ouch. Ouch, this sucks. Suffering. And then a narrative of my thumb hurts. I whacked my thumb. Damn it. Right? Understand that unexpected as the path. Meet it with understanding, compassion, nurturing. Yeah. Good stuff. The Lojong teachings. I hope that you are getting something out of those teachings. I find them to be a nice deep dive into our experience. So don't shy away from it. If it doesn't resonate now, it might resonate later. But listen with a bit of curiosity. Sit with that. So if you are on a social media platform right now, if you're on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, or if you're on the Kansas City Buddhist Center website just watching, we will have a short 30-minute satsang on our Zoom link. So if you go to kansascitybuddhistcenter.com, there's a banner right along that main page, and you can click on that and enter today's Zoom link, and I'll let you in. And there's a nice little group of us, and we'll just be discussing Dharma practice and our path. And it's a good time to answer questions if you're stuck or need some inspiration or some practical chit-chat. So I hope that you do that. We'll shut down the social platforms in just a moment and just continue on the Zoom. But before then, I'd like to close the official practice this morning with reading of the 4 Dharmas of Gampopa and Longchenpa, the prayer for 10 accomplishments by Lama Surya Das, and our Bodhichitta dedication. Bless and empower us that our minds and hearts turn toward the Dharma. Bless and empower us that our Dharma practice becomes the path. Bless and empower us that that path truly dispels confusion. Bless and empower us that that confusion itself dawns as primordial awareness. We call that Rigpa. The prayer for 10 accomplishments by Lama Surya Das. May we realize true sincerity and integrity, inner purity of mind, dispassionate equanimity toward all we see, right understanding of this dreamlike world and the next, loving compassion toward others, and the genuine intention to be helpful in alleviating suffering and confusion. May we directly perceive the truths of impermanence, mortality, and interconnectedness. Relinquish wandering thoughts and rampant desires. Accomplish freedom of mind and clarity of spirit. Remember with gratitude those who have gone before and shown the way, and vow to reach together full and complete enlightenment. Zhongchub Semcho Grimpoche Makye Panam Ke Gyurchik Ke Panyam Parme Payong Gong Ne Gong Du Perwar Shok Zhongchub Semcho Grimpoche Makye Panam Ke Gyurchik Ke Panyam Parme Payong Gong Ne Gong Du Perwar Shok. May the pure, brilliant sun of Bodhichitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion, unstoppably until all are illumined and awakened, body, speech, and mind directed toward awakening and for the benefit of all beings, without one single exception. All right, we're going to jump over to our lovely satsang. I can find my mouse.